$5,000. This photo right here almost secured me $5,000. But before I can tell you about that, we need to go all the way back to the beginning, right where it started. Before we found ourselves on a kayak in the middle of the fjords down in the South Island of New Zealand. So please get comfortable, grab some snacks, grab a drink, and enjoy this very special Lego photography story. So it was May of 2024 last year, and I was still attending university studying a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Photo Media. And I was sitting down with my lecturer and we were discussing what internship I was going to do, as it was a requirement to pass the course. And as we were brainstorming ideas, he hit me with this line right here. This internship isn't about just completing a few hours for a course, it is about what you want to do in the future. And as he said this, I felt my phone vibrate in my pocket. And after the conversation, I looked at my phone and it was an email from Real New Zealand. They were asking if I would be interested in having them fly me down to Queenstown to then hop on a boat and sail through the fjords on a 2-night cruise while competing in their 72-hour challenge. To complete what, you may ask? Compete against 2 other amazing artists in their own niche and photograph the fjords in your own creative niche, which of course, my creative niche being Lego photography. Then all 3 artists would submit their work and the public would vote for their favorite piece. And then eventually the person with the most amount of votes would win 5,000 New Zealand dollars, which is an insane amount of money. To receive this email just seconds after my lecturer said that, it was almost like a sign, as corny, as weird as that sounds. So immediately I said yes, and then a couple of weeks later I arrived in Queenstown with my Lego and my photography gear. Clearly they weren't a fan of the Legos.
Oh no! Notice of bad inspection!
But nothing was removed, so we're in the clear. Before finally embarking on the Fjordland Navigator, a beautiful 38-meter long ship built with cozy cabins and everything anyone would need for a 2-night stay. Now before making my way down, I already knew what my plan was going to be for the 72-hour challenge. I was going to find a way to photograph Lego Bilbo and Lego Gandalf, as New Zealand is also known as the home to Middle-earth. I mean, they filmed Hobbit and Lord of the Rings movies here. It would be perfect to highlight these fjords with these Middle-earth characters. So in my mind, it was perfect. But the problem was, if you look at my work, I'm more of a landscape photographer. I want to try highlight the textures within particular landscapes. I use the landscape's texture to my advantage, and it would be kind of difficult to highlight those textures when you're primarily stuck on the boat. It's a beautiful boat, but for my own niche, I have to find another way to photograph these figures that stick to my strong suits of highlighting those textures, while also highlighting the beautiful fjords. But then I saw on the itinerary that we would be going kayaking on the 2nd day, which was perfect. I could have Gandalf and Bilbo floating in the water on a kayak in the beautiful fjords. Like, how sick would a photo like that be, having them interact with the very water in Doubtful Sound? And as a backup, I bought an eagle with me as well, just in case if the boat thing didn't work. And I had 2 solid ideas that I was hoping at least one would work. But from this point, I was fully set on photographing them inside the kayak. The kayak mission was set for the next day, so I took my time in creating some content, talking to the other creatives who are insanely talented. On board, we had Caroline Foster, an incredible landscape photographer and content creator. And then next, of course, we had Seb Gower, which his paintings are unreal in person. Like, the photographs don't do them justice, you have to be there to see them. And of course we had the incredible Real New Zealand team with us, who of which came in very clutch later on in the story, but we'll get to that soon. And being on that boat was really interesting because we had 3 different creatives all using basically the landscape to their advantage to create some really unique pieces. And it was a very unique experience in the sense that we were in such a beautiful location while all 3 of us were creating our own pieces of art. Like, it's a hard feeling to describe, but it was definitely a very unique experience. The next morning, I enjoyed a delicious mocha in front of a stunning sunrise. But today was the day that we'd be setting out on the kayak, where hopefully I'd be getting my 72-hour challenge photo. That would hopefully garner enough votes to win me the $5,000. But honestly, money wasn't the main goal here. I was more determined to photograph Lego in an entirely new place. Like, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think anyone has taken their Lego to these places to photograph. And that's what excites me the most. I have unlimited range of like what I can create with these Lego photographs. Because that's kind of what it's always been about for me, creating pieces of art that use Lego figures to highlight the beauty of these real places, their unique attributes, and also tell a story through an image that may surprise people. I mean, you know, you wouldn't expect someone to take their Lego down to this beautiful location, so that's kind of the reason why I do Lego photography. So for this photo, I prepared this like makeshift handle where it was just like a wooden rod and then it had some fishing line that was connected to the canoe. Now I tested it in my bathtub as like to see if this would actually work, and it seemed to work pretty well. I mean, I move it around and see if the water would tip it over, and it seemed to do just fine. So I had that sorted, and today was the day. Today was the day we're gonna hopefully get this mean ass photo. But as I made my way down to the kayak, it really began to set in how risky getting these photographs were gonna be. I'd be taking my Lego figures and my camera out onto open water and leaning over the kayak to get the shot, hoping I wouldn't tip over, because if I flipped over, it would have been game over for the whole trip. My camera would have been broken, my figures, although they wouldn't sink, probably lose them pretty quickly, and it was seriously going to be a stressful shoot. But we got to risk it for these kind of photos. $5,000 was on the line. The chaos began the moment I entered the kayak. I was accidentally pushed off without my paddle and had to grab a rope floating nearby to pull myself back in.
Oh, I need my stuff. I need my stuff.
I'll give you the paddle first.
I might need that. I was almost left out here with nothing.
That was quite funny.
Lucky that rope was there.
Already off to not such a great start. The paddles I received were missing the rings around the handles, and usually you would have those to stop the water from flowing down and falling into your lap basically. So sea salt water was getting poured straight onto my non-weather sealed camera, and that was stressing me out. And at this point I don't care. As long as I get the photographs that I want, I don't care what happens to this camera. This camera could break, but as long as I get the photo, I don't care. So I began with my first idea, Gandalf and Bilbo in the canoe, and oh boy, it was a mission.
I did some tests at home, it floated, but it's a bit more tough now that you're on the boat.
Yeah.
This might not work.
Otherwise, I can just hold it and you shoot it.
You reckon?
Yeah.
At one point, Troy, one of the Real New Zealand members, offered to hold the canoe underneath to stop it from tipping over.
What about, I've got an idea.
Yeah.
How good's your Photoshop skills?
You're alright, yeah?
Is we could dip the string and stuff,
Yeah.
and I can just pinch it and hold it.
And then just
there,
Photoshop it out.
And then just take a frame of the bow as well, and I hold it different ways.
Yeah.
That worked out pretty well. I mean, I'm pretty happy with this photograph, but I just feel like I could do a whole lot better with this scenery. So that's when I moved on to plan B, Gandalf and Bilbo with the eagle. Remember how those paddles were letting all that water in? Well yeah, everything was soaked at this point, including my Lego characters, and the blue tack that I was using to attach Bilbo to the back of Gandalf was not sticking at all because of the sea salt water, and sandflies were just mauling me apart. It was pretty bad. So while I was fiddling with all this stuff, I found out that I was holding up the queue at the back, which made me feel awful, and then this happened.
Shit.
Wings, hair pieces, Bilbo, gone. Immediately I was panicking, but thank God nothing fell over into the water. At this point I was getting extremely stressed out and frustrated, and started questioning whether or not I was going to be able to get the shot because almost everything was going wrong. But I gathered everything up, pieced them together, and continued to move on. After a bunch of failed attempts, the kayak slowly started to turn on its own and pointed me back towards the field navigator. The sun began to break through the sky. Everything looked perfect at this point, which is when I took the final shot. I looked down at my camera and was just immediately filled with so much excitement. We nailed the shot. That stressful 20 minutes was all worth it, and I got a photograph that I think is still one of my best shots to this day. And the rest of the trip, I could finally relax. Taking in the scenery, doing more sightseeing. At this point, even if the photos hadn't turned out the way I thought they would, I'd still be so stoked with this trip. I mean, Real New Zealand was so generous to believe in, I guess, my Lego photography, and everyone was so friendly, and it's like the photographs and the videos don't really do it justice, but this trip was just one that I'll genuinely never forget. And I'm not saying that just for the video, but I truly mean that. It was a very unforgettable trip. I had amazing conversations with the incredible team and learnt a lot from them. So, the reveal. After the trip was over, I went back to my hotel and plugged my SD card in and began editing away. I removed my hand out of the shot, I removed the rod, and we landed on this image right here. I could talk about why I love this photo for hours, but the main components I think are simple yet super powerful. The way the landscape just comes together from the water to the cliffs to the sky, and the sun peeking out over that corner and lighting up the cliffs is definitely one of my favorite parts. But my favorite part of this image is if you look closely in the background, you can see the Fjordland Navigator very subtly, and that detail was just the cherry on top because it kind of tied everything together. It's not just a photograph of the Lego figures in Doubtful Sound, it also has the Fjordland Navigator, which I have my own memories and stories from. So those two things collating together just made this image so special. It's such a nice addition to this photograph. So Caroline Foster, Seb Gower and I submitted our photos to the public to let them vote, and these were the results. And in third place we had Seb Gower. He went on a mission and a half to get this done. He shipped his canvas from Auckland to Queenstown and then had to put it into the car, put it on various boats safely without it breaking or, you know, ripping apart, and spent 2 days perfecting his piece, not only during the day but also at night. He was tinkering away at this thing for 2 solid days. The piece in person is just, it was incredible. I wish I could find a way to, like, you know, show people in person, because again, his paintings are just immaculate in person in comparison to a social media post. Like, they're still so incredible, but like seeing it in person, you genuinely are taken aback. Like, it's incredible, it really is. And in second place we had myself. Honestly, I'm just thrilled to be a part of this competition and meet such talented people and see such a beautiful location like this. I'm still extremely proud of my work, and the opportunity alone was really something special. So not only a thank you to Caroline Foster and Seb Gower for just being incredible people, but also the Real New Zealand team. Jen and Troy, you guys were legends. I'm smiling because it's just like the memories of that trip are so sick. Like I had such a fun time on that trip. And of course, in first place, we had Caroline Foster with this incredible landscape photo. I mean, from the reflection on the water to the pop of the bright puffer jacket to the boat and landscape combination, it told a perfect story between a solo traveler and the beautiful landscapes that we were sailing through, and a very well-deserved win for Caroline Foster. But there was a bonus to this competition, or I guess experience. All 3 artists got to submit their art pieces for auction, where all the proceeds would be given to conservation efforts down in the fjords and Doubtful Sound, which is freaking awesome. And I think my photo was able to raise 1,000 New Zealand dollars, which is another reason why I value this photograph so much. I mean, it was able to do some good for conservation efforts and keeping these places safe and protected. I guess that was my story time with Real New Zealand. I mean, I've said it over and over again during this video, but it was truly an unforgettable experience. If you're ever in New Zealand and want to embark on one of their adventures, I'll leave their website linked down below. They've got some incredible things you can do. It's really nice to tell these stories in full-length videos, because not only I can show my Lego photography, but I can also share the other landscape photos that I got that I'm really proud of, but it doesn't really have a place on my Instagram. So these kind of videos are awesome to make. If you like this video, please give it a like. This video has been long overdue, a year later. Hope you enjoyed that video. Like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.